Ohio State is currently on spring break, but before spring break, they had a few practices. So they've already started spring ball, and once they get back from spring break, they will ramp up the practices. So it's common for teams, a lot of schools do it around the nation, where they have a few practices before spring break, and then they have the majority of the practices after spring break. That's what we did in college, but there's still some schools that start after spring break. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's just whatever the coach wants to do. So with that said, the quarterback competition going on at Ohio State is one that I didn't think was going to be a competition until Coach Day came out the other week and said it's an open competition. He talked about the first quarter of camp, a lot of people are going to get reps. And I think that's important. I think that's good, regardless if Howard's a favorite or not. And I think, what I believe and what I think the coaches probably think is he's probably the overwhelming favorite right now, and they probably think he's the guy. But you still want to have a competition. So I think it's healthy, and I think it was a good reminder even to me that having this open competition is a healthy thing, getting Devin Brown in and see if he takes that step forward. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about what do you want to see from each quarterback during spring practice. I know they already started, but it wasn't really like an intense practice yet, right? Like now you're getting closer and closer to the spring game, you'll start seeing that intensity kind of increase. And so Coach Day came out there the other day and talked about how he thought it was important for all these guys to get reps, to make sure they're competing, right? He said, I think in at least the first quarter of this spring, we're going to just let them play and get their reps. I think as that starts to settle a little bit, we'll start to maybe make sure guys are getting reps with the ones that need to, but we're going to let them compete. So I view that as everyone's going to kind of cycle throughout practice, and then once that quarter ends, once you start getting halfway towards practice, it's probably going to be Howard and Brown going back to back. And then my assumption is Howard being the guy moving forward. But I think it's really important for a few reasons to go about this. Number one, it brings the best out of everyone. Number two, with young guys like Aaron Nolan and Julian Sayin, like bringing those guys in, letting them get more reps than just like the crumbs with the threes, I think is important. I think it's good for development. So what do you want to see from Will Howard? We talked about we had a breakdown with Will Howard and Chip Kelly and how he fits that offense. So number one, you want to see him get accustomed to his teammates. You want to see him develop that leadership style with his teammates, whether it is vocally or physically. You want to see him just kind of get on the same page with his teammates. And then you want to see him mesh with the offense. We talked about him at Kansas State. Will Howard was really, really good off-play action at Kansas State. They just didn't do it very much. He was able to push the ball downfield off-play action. He had more touchdowns off-play action. He was just able to be a more complete quarterback because it helped get guys out of position. And Chip Kelly, when he was at UCLA, his best year with DTR was when they threw the ball 40% off-play action. This past year, they were like 20-something% off play action, and they just didn't have the personnel to, I think, utilize and complete Chip Kelly's offense. But whenever they were running and running that UCLA offense at a high level, you saw them using play action often. So I think that goes hand in hand with what Will Howard's skill is, or at least what he's shown his skill to be. If you can get the run game going, if you can get defenders out of position, that's going to help Will Howard and set him up for success, not to mention his athletic ability, which all these guys in the Ohio State quarterback room are good athletes. They're going to be able to run Chip Kelly's offense, right? So you want to see him mesh well with the offense. You want to see him kind of play to his strengths, go off the play action, and then just kind of learning his teammates, getting on the same page with his teammates, getting on the same page as the wide receivers. Devin Brown. What do you want to see with Devin Brown? Well, he's experienced within the actual system. Maybe not Chip Kelly's system, but Ohio State system, right? This is several years into it now. He's actually kind of a veteran guy, if you will, even though he hasn't had that much playing time. He's still a veteran guy. He's been in the quarterback competition before. Last year with Kyle McCord. Now, he lost it, but he's obviously a talented guy. He's obviously someone who they think very highly of because he's competing with Will Howard right now. And so I think what you want to see with Devin Brown is just that continued leadership. And you want to see him take the steps. You want to see him mesh well with Chip Kelly's offense. And maybe he has an advantage somewhere that he can kind of utilize to maybe pull ahead of Will Howard if you're pulling for Devin Brown. But I think with both these guys, they've both been in competitions before. Will Howard with Avery Johnson at Kansas State, even though Howard was the guy, Avery Johnson was that young cat coming in. He's the reason he left Kansas State. Well, I don't know if he's the reason why, but it was clear Avery Johnson was going to be the guy at Kansas State. So definitely one of the reasons why Will Howard left. But he essentially held him off. He's used to competition, and of course Devin Brown is used to competition as well. So I think the fact they're both used to competition is only going to make each of those quarterbacks better. But I'm still looking for Howard to be the guy. I'm still looking for him to learned this offense during the spring practice, and then mesh well with his teammates. Like they didn't bring Will Howard in to be on the bench. I really don't think so. So I think he would have to have a pretty bad camp. I think even if he plays average and Brown plays pretty well, I still think Howard's the guy. I think Howard would have to have a really, really bad camp. And then if he has a really bad camp, I imagine Ohio State not naming a starter and just letting that competition go off through the summer, go off through fall camp, and seeing if Howard can bounce back. Now, if Howard has a really good camp, I would anticipate them going ahead and naming him the starter. If there are transfer portal implications, so be it. But if he's a really good camp and it's clear that he's the guy, then you name him the starter. But even if Brown has a good camp and Howard doesn't, I still think they keep that competition open into the summer. I just don't think they brought him in to sit on the bench. But at the exact same time, I think from a coaching standpoint, to get the best out of your players, to get the best out of your quarterback room, I think it's good to have a competition. I think it's healthy. And kind of selfishly, I'm really excited for Julian Sand and for Air Nolan. I'm excited for them to be able to develop and be able to get some of these reps. That's going to be a really fun competition down the road when those two guys are going at it. But that's maybe next spring, right? Depending what happens this year, we'll see what happens there. But again, every quarterback can develop. Every quarterback's learning this new offense, so everyone's not in the same position per se, just because their experience levels. But everyone has some similarity as far as learning this new offense. So Ohio State fans, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Will Howard? Is he for sure the starting quarterback? I think he is. But again, I could be completely wrong. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this quarterback type video, we're just a quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterbacks. So please consider subscribing, following, and liking the channel. It really does help. So like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.